Our next guest is a comedian, an actress, a best-selling author, and a TV personality.
Sherri Shepherd, welcome to the gym.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's so good to have you here today.
So you're a Chicago native, you're back home, but you're actually working this weekend. You just had a screening for a new film you're a part of?
I did. I rented out a theater and I had some local African-American high schoolers come in and watch the movie with me from Urban Prep Academy, from Creative Cypher, from Becoming a Man, SOS Village, just so many local high schools and a college mentoring experience. And they came in and watched the movie with me because I felt it was very important for them to see this movie and be inspired by Brian Banks.
Yeah, the story of Brian Banks, it's a story of criminal injustice.
Yes.
It's a story of losing, what I would lose hope and lose all those sorts of things and lost opportunities for him. I mean, tell us a little bit about his background.
Yes, Brian Banks is 16 years old. He was ranked number 11 nationally as a defensive linebacker. He got a USC scholarship, full scholarship. 16 years old, he was accused of a crime he did not commit by a student. And 17 years old, he was incarcerated for 6 years. They coerced him into taking a plea deal. 6 years he served. Then when he got out, 5 years on parole with the label of rapist and pedophile. And then the accuser contacted him and admitted, contacted him through Facebook and admitted that she lied.
Which is crazy.
But his entire NFL career had been taken away from him because he was supposed to play pro ball. So what do you do when your life is ripped away from you? You've been in prison for something you did not do. And how do you move forward? How do you forgive? How do you get your life back? And I play his mother, Leomi. I'm sorry. You're like, what are you doing about it? I play his mom.
Quick look at the clip from the movie.
All a mother ever wants is to protect her children. And I was never able to do that for my boy. Or go to my grave feeling the pain of that past. But you can do something today, Mr. Mateo, to stop the pain of his future.
So you're a mom of a teenage boy in real life.
Yes.
How did this role hit home for you?
Just as a mother, I said, my son, Jeffrey, he's 14 years old. This could be Brian Banks. And the mother, Leomi, I connected with her spiritually, her faith, her love that made her drive 3.5 hours there and back to see her son while he was incarcerated. She wrote him a letter a week. She sold her car. So I just connected on that level of playing Leomi.
You're also, you play a funny girl so many times, but this is emotional.
It was very emotional, and it was very hard for me to get this audition because I'm so funny, they didn't want to see me for the movie. Even Brian Banks was like, she makes me laugh, but really. And you know, you just have to, if you have a dream, you have to go for it. It only takes one person. Tom Shadyac, he wrote The Nutty Professor, directed Eddie Murphy and Jim Carrey, and so he's used to working with stand-ups. And he hired me, and he was able to take the funny and put it on the shelf with the fine china and bring up the pain.
Right.
So it was good.
The story of Brian Banks is one of heartache. He eventually does get to play. He plays in preseason games for the Atlanta Falcons when he gets signed. Unfortunately, then gets that drop. But you know, you were telling us off air the idea that he was a talented young man that could have made millions that was stolen away from him. How does he remain positive?
He's chosen to not let this affect his life. He said this was but one moment in his life, and he's got his entire life. He's a life coach. He also works with the Innocence Project, going after representing people who've been falsely accused. He has a new baby. His son is 6 months old. He's engaged to be married. So he's like, my life is so full, I'm not going to stay in that place. It's such an inspirational story of how you move on, especially in this world today that we're living in. How you find your smile again.
Yeah, it's so inspirational. That would be so hard to do, but it's incredible that he did. And you met the real life Leomi, who you played in the movie. Talk to us what that was like.
She's an amazing lady, and I said, you're my Shiro, and she said, I'm not. I just love my son. She's so quiet. She's an elementary school teacher about to get her master's degree, which showed me, continue with your education. You're never too old to get your a degree. And she's so happy now to see how many people are loving on her son because she couldn't shield him from the horror of when he was incarcerated. So she's an amazing lady.
Prison reform, criminal injustice, we know that's an issue in our society.
Yes.
What did this movie teach you about that, or what do you think needs to happen?
It taught me something as simple as go to jury duty. Because that was one of the things that they told Brian. They talked him into taking a plea deal because they said, you're a big black man. There's an all-white jury. So if you want, God forbid you're ever in front of a jury, you want to see people who look like you. So stop trying to get out of jury duty. Go to jury duty. Also do the work to find out who are the DAs and the judges that you need to vote for. Because God forbid, as a parent, you get that phone call that your child has been arrested and you can't protect them. you want to know that you've represented people who will represent your interests. So I learned a lot about the California Innocence Project, who they don't take a dime, and they just try to get people who've been wrongfully incarcerated.
And you've made it your mission to make sure that we should all see this movie, of course,
Yes.
but a lot of young men in all of our community should be seeing this movie too.
Any person, any young person, because your life can change on the drop of a dime from choices. And so I think also it's an inspirational story. Brian shows you that you can go to hell and back, get that smile again, learn to forgive, and how you move on.
Oh my gosh. Brian Banks, thank you so much, Sherri
Thank you for having me.
Shepherd.
And
We
my
appreciate
show,
you.
Mr. Iglesias, has been picked up for a second season on
all
Netflix.
right.
So if you want to laugh,
Yes.
I do make you laugh too.
Right. Keep up, of course, Brian Banks in theaters now. To keep up with Sherri, follow her on Instagram or head over to sherrishepherd.com.